Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Creative Power Summit. I'm your host, Aimee Blair, and today I'm so excited to introduce to you Kimberly Harrison Rieli. Kimberly is the founder of Singing for Your Soul. She's a sonic alchemist, a vocal healer, and a multidimensional alignment guide. She has been a 5-time winner of Best Performing Art Business and Best Voice Lessons in Santa Monica, California, featured in collaboration with Yoga Journal, and the #1 internationally on Google for holistic and spiritual voice lessons. Kimberly has worked with clients in over 15 countries, offering sonic, spiritual, and holistic voice guidance. Her latest offering is Singing for Your Wild Soul, Sacred Sisterhood of Voice Healing. Welcome, Kimberly. So happy to have you here today.
I'm so happy to be here, Aimee. Thank you so much. I'm excited for today.
Yes, me too. This is going to be a really fun conversation. I know that the things that you speak into and that you have to share are going to resonate with so many of our audience members today. So to get started, Kimberly, could you share with us a little bit of your personal journey that led you to the work that you're doing today?
This is always the part where I'm like, which parts do I share?
I know.
Right?
Whichever parts are coming forward that want to be shared today.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's been a long and winding journey, but I like to start with how I was born, which is, first of all, my mother's side of the family was very musical. So my grandpa played trumpet, and he was like Louis Armstrong and a white man. He would scat sing and dance. And my grandmother played piano and sang. So it was very much in our family. All my aunts sang, and my mom. And when my mom went into labor with me, we were at a concert. And she said I was kicking really hard to the heavy percussion that was happening, and it broke her water. And so that's how I came into the world, was just with music. And it's always been part of my soul calling. I've always known that, but I haven't always known how that was going to look, because my path has been so non-traditional and so far outside of the Western academic traditional way of doing voice. And that was a deep wound for a long time, that I just didn't fit the narrative, and I couldn't seem to just squish my squiggle peg into that square hole that I was supposed to fit into. So there was a lot of, deep wounding around that. I also had a narcissistic parent. So being raised in that environment, for those who are familiar with narcissists, they take your voice. They don't let you have a voice. So growing up in that environment was part of my shaping, right? Shaped who I was, and led later to me having a lot of anxiety problems when I started performing. And it took me time to put those pieces together and to do the healing so that I could show up and sing without having panic attacks. And I also had a lot of health problems that were related to my mindset. And it took me time to figure those out. One of the most painful issues that I dealt with was really severe cystic acne. So that created so much shame and made it really hard to be confident when performing, because my face is just broken out, and just really deep pain that I went through around that, around my femininity, my menstrual cycles, really deep depression, anxiety. All of those things were a part of this soup that I was working with, and really finding sound healing, which I happened into accidentally, was a huge piece of the path starting to unfold in a much happier and healthier way, and being able to resolve a lot of these challenges.
So we may have people in our audience who aren't familiar with the term sound healing. Could you give just a little bit of explanation of that?
Okay. So sound healing is any number of different ways of using sound to basically reharmonize, quite literally, our bodies and our energy fields. And if you look at even the ancient teachings in yoga, they teach about how our energy field is the first place where illness manifests. And what's amazing is that scientifically, they're now being able to measure these kinds of things. They can measure our, what's it called? Our field, our energy field. There's a name for it. Our electromagnetic field. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So a lot of science is starting to back all of this up, and it's not so woo anymore.
Right.
But basically, which I love because I don't like feeling like the woo one. You know, I know that this stuff works, but it's nice to have the scientific backing, right? So they can measure our electromagnetic energy field. They're being able to measure what happens with our cells and tissues when sound is applied, and they create more beautiful shapes. It creates coherence and harmony, and that harmony and coherence in our energy field and in our bodies helps to resolve issues. Generally, it starts with emotion. It helps soothe emotion. Anybody who's been moved emotionally by music knows exactly what I'm talking about, which is probably anybody who's listening. We've all had that experience. So it moves emotion, and then it helps to clear things and reharmonize so that we can be more whole.
Yeah, that's a beautiful use of sound and music in the healing journey for sure. So Kimberly, you're a holistic voice coach. Do the people who find you for coaching, what sort of journeys are they on? They want to be singers, or do they want to connect with their inner voice? What tends to be the journey of your clients?
I love that question. That's a great question. Okay, so there has been a definite trajectory shift in the years that I've been doing this. So in the beginning, it was more people contacting me with more vague ideas of what they wanted. So it's on my bucket list. I just want to know if I can learn how to sing. It sounds fun, more general like that.
Mhm.
It has shifted, I would say, over the past 5 to 8 years, very significantly, to people saying, this is part of my spiritual journey. I don't want to be a singer per se. Some do, but I would say in general, more are just interested in opening their voice because they know it's going to open something profound in them and it feels important. Often they will have been to a psychic reading or had some sort of a spiritual mentor who recommends that they start using their voice and healing their voice and take voice lessons. And then I think how I hit number one on Google is that people have started to they've started to Google holistic voice, voice healing, spirituality and voice, heal my soul with my voice, things like that. And that's how they find me. So yeah, that's what's going on. And I love it because that's my favorite area to work on. I'm not as interested in, are you getting ready for the voice and how great do you sound?
Yeah.
That is really boring to me. It's not the purpose of using our voices. And I've refined my voice. I've definitely gone there with my voice, and I love using my voice for healing purposes. And there's so many beautiful things we can do with our voices, but the more interesting thing to me is how they feel in our bodies and what they can open for us.
Beautiful. So you work with women who are trying to reconnect or find or discover or open their voice. So in your experience, both your personal experience and the clients you work with, how did we all get so disconnected in the first place? I'm sure there's many, but are there some like themes that have emerged in your work?
Yeah, so I would say that there has been an intentional campaign to disconnect us from our voices. And I know that potentially sounds super conspiracy theorist, but I just have had so much experience and I've watched it happen, and it's so woven into the fabric of our society for the past, I would say, couple of thousand years or more where there's been an intentional shutting down, particularly of the female voice,
Mm.
but also of voices in general. And I would say it's because, number one, the power of sound is profound. I mean, we could go back into the Bible and look at the story of the walls of Jericho, where they knocked the walls down. And when I grew up, I thought that story was like metaphorical. And the more I've learned about sound, I'm like, no, I don't think that was metaphorical. I think they actually did that. I think that was a real use of sound. And there's a lot of theories around using the sound to build the pyramids and these megalithic structures, these ancient structures, even to cut them with the precision that we don't have today to cut these stones and move these huge stones with such precision. So there are a lot of theories around using sound, and I think that sound unlocks so much freedom and awakening of our multidimensionality that there's been a concerted effort to keep us from knowing that and from using our voices in those ways. So that's my short answer on that. I could go on.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting that, do you feel like we're in a time like this time we're living in right now, people are being called to undo some of that past trauma?
Yes. I think that this is the time for that. There's been the awakening that happened as we became more aware of meditation and yoga and naturopathy and, you know, these natural practices that came from the East and moved their way west. And we started working with them, acupuncture, you know, Chinese medicine, things like that, that are more holistic. And they opened us up to this next phase, which really does involve embodying and awakening our voices. Yeah.
So we've been talking a lot on this summit, Kimberly, about connecting with like our inner voice, our intuition, our inner knowing. Do you see a relationship between like the inner voice and the outer expressive voice?
All the way, all the way. How I describe it is our inner voice informs our outer voice,
Mm.
right? And that happens in how we speak, how we express ourselves, right? The deeper we have those roots and the more connected we are to the inner voice, the more that flows and the easier it is to speak our truths and be in our bodies. But it also is a great voice teacher. So when we're working with our voices and making all kinds of sounds and exploring more of that palette, the inner voice is really amazing at helping us to find the healthy choreography and the organic unfolding that allows our voices to sound better and be more expressed and colorful.
Mm. Awesome.
Yeah. Plus, let me just add that my inner voice was the key to me starting to find how to heal all of those things that I mentioned, and even the things I didn't mention. There was a journey, and it really started with my inner voice whispering things to me and me starting to notice and listen. And it just very gently brought me along this path of healing, and me paying attention to what lit me up and what I was intuiting was absolutely key to leading me on that path. Yeah.
Awesome. What benefits do you see as your clients and students reconnect with that outer expressive expression of their voice? What changes do you see them undergo and in their outer life?
I would say in general, there's more light. Like there's just a lifting of some of the heavy stuff that has been placed on us by life. And it just resolves a lot of things, and they just become more expressive. There's less self-judgment and holding back, and the body armors less. So if we're afraid of how we sound, how we look, how we're showing up, and there's that inner critic that's like all along the way, the body armors. And that has to do with the nervous system. There's this this tension that comes in, and I can see it in people when they're first starting to try to use their voice. And I felt it, I know it because I experienced it when I was having those panic attacks and struggling with my voice. And as we free that up, then all sorts of things start to flow. Creativity, people have an easier time following their soul purpose and moving in the direction of what feels better to them, and leaving behind the things that were not feeling good and not fully their path and their purpose. So it really just starts to, it's like pulling at a thread and starting to untangle all of that stuff, and then these beautiful things unfold.
This is such a fascinating conversation. I feel like we could just keep talking all day. And,
I would be
so
happy
many
to.
interesting things to say. I know you are going to actually lead us in a little exercise today. Could you tell us about that?
Yeah, so it was hard to choose one, so I didn't choose one. And these exercises lead into each other. So the first place I want to just drop in is by encouraging everyone to make more sound, to just start to let go of the judgment, or move forward with the judgment that can come up around our voices. We have so much heaped on us around you have to sound good, right?
Mm.
There's so much tangled up in that. And so for me, the most freeing thing was when I had a voice coach say to me, he wasn't even a voice coach. He was a vocal, a guitar coach. Anyway, he said to me, "Have you found your ugly sound?" And that was like, oh, I realized the straitjacket I hadn't even understood I was in, because I had never in my life attempted to make anything but a gorgeous sound as a singer, as a speaker, as anything. And so that opened up this Pandora's box of this witchy woman that wanted to come out and just explore all of the sounds. And so I want to just invite you to, grunt and groan and ick, 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 and speak gibberish and just make all kinds of sounds, to sing to yourself, maybe while you're washing dishes or driving, to just hum. That's a beautiful way to activate vagus nerve healing, and help the nervous system resolve trauma and calm down and step into parasympathetic nervous system. So just singing, humming to yourself, and these practices can be on your own. You don't have to do them in front of other people. This can be a sacred self-care kind of practice. I only share a lot of these practices in sacred space with other women, and a lot of them are my own to do in the forest by myself, or in front of my altar on my own. So this doesn't have to be a public display of anything. This is nourishing yourself. So that's one.
That's such an important distinction, because I think we have singing and performing very, in our culture, very mixed up together. And right. And, we have the same conversation in the visual art world all the time. Like, you can just make marks. It doesn't have to make art. You can just put marks on a paper, or, right. Yeah.
Which is like a major concept in the beginning, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, just make marks with your voice in the sonic field, right? And you can even paint with your voice. You could just get so creative and have so much fun with it. And it's been so profound for me to just make sound. It has changed everything about my life. So that's one. Number two is a practice that's called toning. And I teach it all the time. And it's what I come back to over and over again because it's so profound. So this is an ancient practice. It's rooted in yoga, but a lot of other traditions, including like mantra practice, has its roots in toning. Toning is a medicinal use of the voice. And if we think of the word tonic, it means medicine, right? So when we're toning, or when we're in music, we call the home base, the home note that we're working with and whatever key we're in is called the tonic. So it's the medicine, it's home. So we can use our voices in this practice, and I'm going to show you in just a second. All you do is, First of all, know that judgments are going to come up. And that's part of the beauty of this practice, is that we're working with the judgment. So I'm going to demonstrate this in a moment, but basically we first work with releasing the judgments and or sitting with them, because they're going to come up. Your inner critic is going to say, my voice is scratchy, this is too tight, my throat's closing up, I don't sound good, my voice is weak, it's wobbly, it's too bombastic, whatever the narrative is. So part of this meditation practice is to just sit with those and say, I see you, I love you, thank you, I'm going to do this anyway, right? Then the next step is to take a deep breath and just start toning, which is holding out a note on any vowel that feels good to you. And there's other ways you can tone the chakras. You can use vowels for the chakras. You can use the bija mantras for the chakras. But this is just, pick a vowel, ah, or e, or o, or oo, and then tone it repeatedly for 3 times, for 7 times, for 5 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever. Just pick an amount of time and then tone, and then really tune into the sensation of the breath and of the sound in your body. And you can send it to different places in your body. If you have sore spots or places in your body that you're working with, you can send the sound there. And you don't have to pick any specific note. It can be high one day, low another day, middle range another day, or it could be all in the same session. So this is just a really creative use of your voice and tapping in with your intuition and asking your intuition to guide you to the vowels and the sounds that are going to support you that day. Okay, so I'll lead this now. You're welcome to join me. I'm just going to tone like 7 times to give us a chance to experience this. And this isn't a marathon. You're not trying to hold your voice out forever. Don't get lightheaded and pass out. Just open your mouth, take a breath, and then hold out the tone until you feel like you need to take another breath, and then do it again. Okay? All right, so here we go. You start by just closing our eyes, maybe checking in with your body, feeling your sit bones, feeling the weight of your body and the support of the earth and the chair or the floor beneath you. And call your energy back from the places that it's been in the world, and just feel it arrive home in your field and in your body. You might want to place one hand on heart, one hand on belly, just to check in. This will help you feel the sensation in your body. And then just take some deep breaths. You might sigh audibly with some tone. And then once you've centered yourself, we can just do this toning. I might lose track of numbers. It's hard to count when I'm checking out in this blissful way, but I'll attempt 7 times. And you can join me on any tone or note or vowel that feels good to you. Just feel that massage you're giving yourself inside. One more. And then keeping your gaze soft or your eyes closed and just staying within for a moment here. And noticing how you feel, what you're experiencing in your body, in your energy field. Just let those sound waves continue to ripple out. Notice if you feel less dense, if your energy feels calmer and less frenetic. Just let it settle. And then you can release. And that's toning.
Thank you so much, Kimberly. That was a beautiful practice. I hope that everyone, all of our viewers tried that, had a chance to try that. If you're at the office or somewhere driving, well, no, driving in your car is a great place to do it. If you're somewhere where you weren't able to try it along, um, when you get home tonight, go back and click on the replay and give it a try, or just, now that you've got the gist, you can try it. Yeah, it really is amazing afterward how you can feel it in your body.
Yes, it's one of the best ways to switch into parasympathetic nervous system rest and digest. It's very, very healing, and it's really a profound way to connect with your inner voice, your intuition, and your outer voice in a way that's not this performative, externally focused. It's using our voices to express and experience instead of impress, right? So it's a profound difference.
Beautiful. All right, Kimberly, I know you have a free gift you're going to offer our audience today. Could you tell us about that?
Yes, yes. So I have a free voice class. It's called Sound Better, Feel Shinier Now. And it's a 3 video voice class. They're each about 20 minutes long. And I'm covering so many different things about the voice and healing our voices and feeling more confident about ourselves and our voices. The middle video is a yoga practice to move and help connect physically and open the body and the breath and the energy flow to make sounds more wholesomely. And I do teach the toning practice at the end of that as well. So yeah, that's the free voice class, and I would love for everybody to check it out.
Right. And tell us a little bit about what you're offering now that our viewers can maybe look into if they'd like.
A couple other things. So I have a free Facebook group. If you go to facebook.com/singing for your soul, you can join that. And I go live. Well, I've stopped going live because I've been so busy, but I try to upload videos most Mondays. They're called Magic Mondays, where I lead a healing voice or movement practice for opening and healing our voices. So you're welcome to join that group. And I also just launched something I'm so excited about. It's called Singing for Your Wild Soul, and it's a sacred sisterhood of voice healing for women. And I'll tell you just a little bit about it. We work together to free our voices, to rewild our souls, to heal our witch wounds. We didn't talk about that, but probably most women will know what I'm talking about there. To heal our sensuality, because all of this goes hand in hand, and our nervous systems, which I've mentioned, so that we can step more fully and powerfully into our soul's purpose. So the women who have been interested in joining so far are just these incredible medicine women. It's going to be an amazing group. We just opened enrollment, and I will probably have a landing page by the time that this interview goes live, but I don't have one at this moment. So the safest thing is to just have you join my mailing list, which you can do at singingforyoursoul.com, and then you'll get my newsletter, and I'll be sharing more about Singing for Your Wild Soul, among other things and offerings. And if you're specifically really interested in getting that information right away, you can email me at info@singingforyoursoul.com, and I will fill you in on the juicy details.
All right, thank you so much. Kimberly, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and your mission and the work that you're doing, helping women heal their voice and step into their power by using their voice. That is a beautiful mission and beautiful work that you're doing.
Thank you so much for hosting this. You have a beautiful mission and beautiful work, and I just am excited to hear all the other women and connect with everyone that is called. Yeah,
Great.
thank
So,
you.
and all of our viewers, thank you for watching today. And we would love to have you hop into our Facebook group and let us know what your takeaways and aha moments from today's session with Kimberly were. Let us know if you tried the toning exercise, what came through for you when you tried that, and we'll keep the conversation going in the Creative Compass Facebook group. All right.
Awesome.
Thank you all. And we'll be back with another great interview shortly. Bye now.